The first time I saw Marcus Venn activate that cursed device, I thought someone had broken the laws of physics. No. Scratch that, I knew someone had broken the laws of physics. I just did not expect it to be the human. My name is Thrak, and I serve as tactical observer for the Galactic Defense Coalition. That is a fancy way of saying I watch species from across the galaxy train together, take notes, and try not to die when something inevitably goes wrong. It is not glamorous work, but it pays well and the medical coverage is excellent. You need excellent medical coverage when you work with humans. The training facility on Station Omega-7 sprawls across 3 kilometers of reinforced titanium and hope. We get recruits from everywhere. Mantoid warriors from the clicking systems. Varus Helexians who exist mostly as sentient gas. Rock people from Granite Prime. The usual mix. But humans are special. Humans are the species that looks at a problem, ignores 17 safety regulations, and somehow survives the solution. Marcus Venn stood in the center of the training arena, and he looked ordinary. Painfully ordinary, brown hair. Average height by human standards, maybe a bit lean. He wore the standard coalition jumpsuit in that ugly orange color that supposedly shows up on every spectrum of light. The kind of person you would pass in a corridor and forget immediately. His squad thought the same thing.
I could tell.
Commander Xyloth, a crowbar with scales that shimmered purple under the station lights, crossed 4 of his 6 arms and made that clicking sound that passes for laughter among his people. "This is the human specialist?" he asked. His translator box rendered his words with a dismissive tone. "He looks like he would blow away in a strong breeze." Next to him, Sergeant Brixa, a mantoid with mandibles that could cut through steel, chittered in agreement. No offense to the human, but we were told we would be getting someone impressive. Someone who could enhance our combat effectiveness. This one looks like a logistics clerk. The rest of the squad, 9 aliens from 7 different species, murmured their agreement. They had been training together for 6 weeks. They were good, disciplined, fast, strong. They had no idea what was about to happen. I tapped my datapad, pulling up Marcus Venn's file. Human, age 28. Served in something called the Terran Extreme Environment Corps. Medals for it. I scrolled through the list: valor, innovation, survival tactics, and one very strange commendation for creative problem-solving under conditions that should have been lethal. His specialization was listed as gravity manipulation technology. Field application. Right, gravity manipulation. Humans and their toys. Marcus smiled at the assembled squad. It was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone who knows something you do not, and you are going to regret that gap in knowledge very, very soon. "Good morning, everyone," Marcus said, his voice carrying easily across the arena. "I understand you have concerns about my qualifications." "No concerns," Commander Xyloth said, waving a dismissive hand. "Just curiosity. We were expecting someone more substantial." "Substantial," Marcus repeated, nodding slowly. "Right. Well, before we begin today's joint exercise, I thought I should demonstrate some of the equipment that Terran forces use in combat situations. Specifically this." He held up his left wrist. Strapped there was a band, maybe 3 centimeters wide, made of some dark gray material that seemed to absorb light. Small indicators glowed pale blue along its surface. It looked like a fancy watch. Nothing special. Certainly nothing dangerous. "This," Marcus continued, "is what we call a personal gravity field modulator. Catchy name, right? Most of us just call it a gravity band. It is standard issue for extreme environment troops. Allows us to function in high-gravity worlds, navigate zero-gravity combat zones, that sort of thing." Brixa clicked her mandibles. "We have similar technology. Inertial dampeners, gravitational stabilizers. Nothing revolutionary." "Oh, this is definitely not revolutionary," Marcus agreed, still smiling. "But it is fun. You see, most species develop gravity technology for protection, to keep your soldiers safe in hostile environments. Humans being humans, we looked at the same technology and asked a different question." He paused for effect. I leaned forward in my observation booth. This was going to be good or terrible. With humans, those two concepts often overlap. "We asked," Marcus said, "what if we cranked it up?" Commander Xyloth's eyes narrowed. "Cranked it up? Increased the output, reversed the polarity. made it generate gravity instead of just compensating for it, turned a defensive tool into something more versatile. The arena went very quiet. I checked my instruments, all readings normal. Marcus was just standing there, relaxed, hand resting near the controls on his gravity band. The squad members were exchanging glances now, uncertain whether this was some kind of human humor they did not understand. "You can generate gravity fields?" one of the squad members asked. Corporal then, a Helixian, whose gaseous form rippled with confused colors. "Portable gravity generation requires enormous power sources, the energy demands alone." "Yeah, about that," Marcus interrupted. "Humans are really good at miniaturization, and really stupid about safety limits. This little band can generate up to 8 times standard gravity in a 5-meter radius. 8 times standard gravity." I felt my own insides tighten. Standard gravity is the baseline, the comfortable middle ground that most species evolved under. Double gravity, uncomfortable. Triple. Most species cannot function. 8 times standard gravity would crush bones, rupture organs, turn blood into sludge in your veins. Commander Xyloth laughed, a booming sound. "Impossible. You would kill yourself. The band cannot distinguish between friend and foe." Marcus's smile widened. "You would think that, would not you? But here is the thing about humans. We evolved on a death world. Earth, gravity, weather, predators, diseases, other humans, everything on our planet spent millions of years trying to kill us. So we adapt our bone density, our muscle composition, our cardiovascular system. We are built for high gravity. Not 8 times, obviously. That would be excessive even for us. But combine our natural durability with some clever engineering." He tapped the band. The blue indicator shifted to amber. "Personal shielding keeps the user safe. Everyone else?" He shrugged. "Not so much." "You are bluffing," Rixa said flatly. "This is some kind of human psychological tactic. Intimidation through absurd claims." "Only one way to find out," Marcus replied cheerfully. "How about a demonstration? Nothing too extreme, just a little taste. Say 3 times standard gravity." The squad members looked at each other. Xyloth's scales rippled through several colors, which I had learned meant he was considering his options. Finally he growled, "Fine, demonstrate. Show us this supposedly fearsome human technology." Marcus nodded. "Great. Might want to brace yourselves, though, maybe get into a wider stance. Bend your knees, that kind of thing." No one moved. Pride. It is universal among warrior cultures. Admitting you need to prepare for something is admitting it might actually affect you. I activated my emergency medical alert system, just in case. Marcus touched a control on the band. There was no dramatic sound effect, no visible energy discharge, nothing that would warn you something terrible was happening. One moment, the arena was normal. The next moment, reality decided to get heavier. 3 times standard gravity does not sound like much until you experience it. Suddenly your own body weight triples. Your bones creak under loads they were never designed to carry. Your heart struggles to pump blood that suddenly feels thick as tar. Breathing becomes work. Standing becomes an act of defiance against a universe that wants you flat on the ground. The effect on the squad was immediate and spectacular. Commander Xyloth's knees buckled. All 6 of his arms flailed as he tried to keep his balance, but 3 times his own weight was too much. He went down hard, crashing face first into the training mat with a thud that I felt through the observation booth floor. His scales flashed through every color in distress. Brixa fared slightly better. Her mantoid physiology, built for climbing and leverage, kept her upright for almost 3 full seconds. Then her legs folded, her chitinous armor groaning under the strain. She collapsed sideways with a screech that her translator rendered as several very creative profanities. The others dropped like someone had cut their strings. The Helixian lost cohesion entirely, his gaseous form splattering across the floor in a puddle of confused vapor. 2 Graken warriors, usually so proud of their strength, fell to their knees and then to their faces, their 4 eyes wide with shock. A Severian whose species normally moved with liquid grace found herself pinned like an insect to a board. 9 warriors. 9 different species. All of them trained, experienced, confident in their abilities. All of them flattened in less than 5 seconds. Marcus stood in the center of the carnage, completely unaffected, hands on his hips. "Huh," he said, conversationally. "Yeah, that is about what I expected. From my observation booth I recorded everything. This footage would be shown in tactical academies for years, possibly with comedy music." Commander Xyloth managed to lift his head maybe 2 centimeters off the ground. His translator box crackled. "Turn it off." "What was that?" Marcus asked, cupping his ear in an exaggerated gesture. "Sorry. You are going to have to speak up. It is hard to hear you down there." "Off," Xyloth gasped. "Human, please." Marcus let them suffer for another 10 seconds, long enough to make the point, not long enough to cause actual damage. Then he tapped the band again, and the invisible weight lifted. The recovery was almost as entertaining as the collapse. Xyloth surged to his feet, sucking in air, all 6 arms checking for injuries. Rixa rolled onto her back, mandibles clicking in what I recognized as mantoid cursing. The others groaned, wheezed, and generally made sounds of extreme discomfort. "So," Marcus said brightly, "any questions about my qualifications?" Silence. Beautiful, stunned silence. Corporal Venn, the Helixian, managed to pull himself back into a coherent form. His colors swirled orange and blue, distress mixed with, "Was that respect?" "You did that at 3 times gravity," he said slowly. "You said the band goes up to 8. That is correct. What happens at 8 times gravity?" Marcus's expression went serious. "At 8 times, bones break, organs fail, blood vessels rupture. Most species would die in seconds. A few would last maybe a minute. It is not a weapon you use on people you want to capture. It is a weapon you use when you need everyone in the area to stop being a problem, permanently." Rixa had regained her feet, though she was still shaking slightly. "That is monstrous." "That is war," Marcus replied simply, "and before you judge too harshly, remember that I gave you all a warning. I told you to brace yourselves. None of you listened. That is lesson 1 for working with humans, by the way. When we warn you about something, we are usually not exaggerating. If anything, we are probably understating the problem because we do not want to sound crazy." I could see the mental gears turning in Commander Xyloth's head. The initial shock was wearing off, replaced by the tactical assessment that made him a good officer. "This device," he said carefully, "how many humans carry these?" "Anyone in extreme environment units. That is maybe 15% of our combat forces. The rest use more conventional equipment. And you can activate it instantly? No warm-up period, no warning signs. It is pretty much instant, yeah. The whole point is surprise. You are fighting a human soldier, you think you have them outmatched, and suddenly you are kissing the floor wondering why your skeleton is trying to escape through your feet." Rixa clicked thoughtfully. "This changes tactics considerably. If we know human forces might have this capability—" "Oh, we have lots of capabilities," Marcus interrupted. "The gravity band is just one of them. We also have kinetic accelerators, plasma disruptors, nano-swarm munitions, neural scramblers, and my personal favorite, the bouncing Betty mine that uses predictive algorithms to calculate your exact trajectory and detonates at head height right as you pass over it. We call that one the headache maker." The squad looked ill. I did not blame them. I felt a bit queasy myself, and I was safely behind armor glass. Commander Xyloth straightened to his full height, scales settling into a neutral gray. "Human Marcus Van," he said formally, "I apologize for my earlier dismissal of your abilities. You have adequately demonstrated your value to this unit." "Adequately," Marcus repeated, grinning. "I will take it. And just so we are clear, I am not here to show off or prove humans are superior or any of that nonsense. I am here because High Command thinks joint operations between humans and other coalition species are the future. That means you need to understand how we fight, what we are capable of, what you can expect if we are on your side." He paused. "Or heaven help you, if we are not." "Point taken," Xyloth said. "So, what now?" "Now," Marcus checked his wrist display, "now we do actual training. Because knowing about the gravity band is one thing. Learning to fight alongside someone who has one is something else entirely." Corporal Venu still mobile. The Helixian rippled affirmative colors. "Yes, shaken, but functional." "Good. You are going to play enemy force. Commander Xyloth, take half the squad. Rixa, you take the other half." Standard capture and extract scenario. Corporal Venn has intelligence we need. I am playing opposition force, trying to stop you. Your job is to complete the mission without getting flattened. Begin in 5 minutes. The squad scrambled to organize themselves. I watched them huddle up, discussing tactics in urgent whispers. How do you fight someone who can increase gravity at will? How do you even approach that problem? Marcus caught me watching from the observation booth. He looked up, waved, and mouthed the words, "This is going to be hilarious." He was not wrong. The exercise began with Commander Zylet's group attempting a straightforward assault. They moved in a wedge formation, weapons raised, trying to overwhelm Marcus with numbers and firepower. It was textbook tactics. It was also exactly what Marcus expected. He waited until they were 8 meters away, then 7, then 6. The squad members were shouting, closing in for the capture. Victory seemed certain. At 5 meters, Marcus activated the band. 2 times gravity this time. Not enough to completely incapacitate, but enough to slow everyone down dramatically. The squad's sprint became a trudge. Their weapons felt twice as heavy. Aiming became nearly impossible when your arms suddenly weighed as much as small children. Marcus, moving at normal speed because the field did not affect him, simply walked through their formation, tapping each of them with his training weapon. Dead. Dead. Also dead. Definitely dead. And you are dead too. He switched off the field. The squad stood there, panting, staring at him in disbelief. What did we learn? Marcus asked cheerfully. Do not get within 5 meters, Sergeant Brixa said darkly. Excellent. Group 2, you are up. Brixa's approach was more cautious. She sent scouts ahead, kept her main force at range, tried to use the environment for cover. Smart tactics. Unfortunately for her, Marcus had fought smart opponents before. He activated the gravity field while hiding behind a barrier. From Brixa's perspective, her entire squad suddenly found themselves struggling against increased gravity, and she had no idea where the effect was coming from. Panic set in. Formation dissolved. By the time they figured out Marcus's position, he had circled around and tagged half of them out of the exercise. Lesson 2, Marcus announced. The gravity field affects a radius. You cannot see it. You cannot block it. If you are in range, you are in trouble. Next approach? They tried everything. Long-range attacks. Marcus just activated the field and walked behind cover while they struggled to aim. Simultaneous multi-directional assault. Marcus activated partial gravity, just enough to slow the closer attackers while he dealt with the more distant ones. One brave Graken even tried to rush him from above, dropping from an overhead position. Marcus looked up, smiled, and switched the gravity field to maximum right as the Graken entered range. The poor warrior accelerated downwards so fast he hit the floor and bounced. After an hour of failed attempts, the squad sat in a dejected circle, drinking water and nursing bruised egos. This is impossible, one of the Graken muttered. How do you fight someone with that kind of advantage? You don't, Marcus said, sitting down with them. Not directly, not without preparation. That is the point. Humans bring something unique to the coalition. We have technologies and tactics that give us edges in specific situations. But here is the secret. We are not invincible. We just want you to think we are. Commander Zyloth looked up. Explain. The gravity band has limits. 5-meter range. Battery life of about 30 minutes at combat settings. It works on line-of-sight principles, so solid barriers can create safe zones. And, Marcus smiled ruefully, if someone figures out the frequency we use, it can be jammed. We have lost soldiers to enemies who adapted. The difference is, most species take time to analyze and adapt. Humans, we assume everyone will adapt immediately, so we plan for it. So how would you fight you? Brixa asked. Marcus stood, pulling up a holographic display. Range. The band only works at 5 meters. Stay back. Use sniping tactics. Second, shock assaults. Hit from multiple directions simultaneously. I can only affect a 5-meter bubble. Overwhelm that bubble. Third, environmental hazards. Gravity manipulation does not help if the floor collapses or the room floods. Fourth, electronic warfare. Jam the frequency. Make the band useless. And fifth, the most important lesson. He looked at each of them in turn. Never fight fair. We do not. You should not either. use every advantage, exploit every weakness. Humans survive because we cheat. We cheat better than anyone else. You want to beat humans in combat? Learn to cheat better than we do. The squad absorbed this. Slowly, thoughtfully, they began to nod. So, Marcus continued, ready to try again. This time, I want you to try to beat me. Use what you learned. No holding back. They tried. They tried very hard. They learned to coordinate, to adapt, to think like humans. And occasionally they even succeeded. Not often, but enough to prove it was possible. By the end of the day, Marcus was sweating, the squad was exhausted, and everyone had a newfound respect for everyone else. As we wrapped up, Commander Xyloth approached Marcus. "Human," he said, "I underestimated you. That was a mistake I will not repeat." "No worries," Marcus replied, "everyone does it. Honestly, we prefer it. Element of surprise and all that. One question though. Shoot. When you activated the gravity band at 8 times, you said most species would die in seconds. What about humans?" Marcus was quiet for a moment. "We would die too," he admitted. "Not immediately. Maybe a minute. Maybe 2, for someone really tough. But we would die. The band is not just a weapon against enemies, Commander. It is insurance. If we are surrounded, if capture means worse than death, if we need to buy time for allies to escape, 8 times gravity affects everyone. Humans just last a little longer." The implications hung in the air like smoke. "That is insane," Brixa whispered. "Yeah," Marcus agreed quietly, "but that is what happens when you evolve on a death world. You learn that survival sometimes means taking everyone down with you. We really hope it never comes to that. But if it does," he tapped the band, "we are ready." I watched from my booth as the squad filed out, talking among themselves, processing everything they had learned. Marcus stayed behind, running diagnostics on his equipment, checking readiness levels. My communicator blinked. Message from Coalition High Command. They wanted my preliminary assessment of the human integration program. I thought about what to write, about Commander Xyloth's initial dismissal, about the demonstration, about the training exercises that followed, about Marcus Venn, the ordinary-looking human who carried the power to crush everyone around him, and the responsibility that came with it. Finally, I typed human integration, proceeding as expected. Recommend all coalition forces receive mandatory briefings on human combat capabilities. Also recommend increased mental health support for non-human soldiers who will be working with human units. They are going to need it. I hit send and looked back at Marcus. He had finished his checks and was heading for the exit, whistling something that his file identified as an Earth song. Something about surviving, about not giving up. Typical human. They even make music about being too stubborn to die. Tomorrow, Marcus would introduce the squad to something he called kinetic multiplication. I had read ahead in his training schedule. Apparently it involved redirecting an opponent's force back at them with interest. The physics made my head hurt. But that was tomorrow's problem. Tonight, I would review the footage, compile my notes, and try to explain to Coalition Command why the small, unimpressive human from Earth was probably the most dangerous individual on the station. Not because he wanted to hurt anyone, but because he could, easily, almost casually. And that, I was beginning to understand, was the real lesson. Humans did not need to prove they were dangerous. They just were. The trick was getting them to fight for you instead of against you. I shut down my observation systems and headed for my quarters. Behind me, the training arena stood empty, the floor still marked with impact points, where 9 experienced warriors had learned a hard lesson about underestimating humans. Tomorrow would bring new lessons, new demonstrations, new reasons to update my life insurance. Working with humans, I was learning, was equal parts terrifying and fascinating. Mostly terrifying, though. Definitely mostly terrifying. Morning on Station Omega-7 began the way it always did. Alarms, artificial lighting that simulated something humans insisted was called dawn. The smell of recycled air and the faint hum of life support systems keeping several hundred species alive in the void of space. I arrived at the training arena early, clutching my 3rd stimulant beverage of the day. My species processes caffeine differently than humans, but we need it just as much, especially when dealing with humans. Marcus was already there, of course. Humans apparently require very little sleep, Another fun adaptation from their death world. He was arranging equipment in the center of the arena, humming that same tune from yesterday. "Morning Throke," he called out without looking up. "Sleep well?" I spent 4 hours reviewing yesterday's footage and another 2 explaining to my superiors why 9 trained warriors ended up decorating the floor. And they want more footage. Apparently this is excellent training material. Also, they flagged your file for psychological evaluation. Marcus laughed. "Not the first time. Will not be the last. Ready for today's lesson?" Define ready. Fair point. He finished setting up what looked like training dummies, except these ones were mounted on mobile platforms. "Today we cover kinetic multiplication. It is a fun one." "Your definition of fun concerns me." "It should." The squad arrived in groups, filtering into the arena with noticeably more weariness than yesterday. Commander Xyloth's scales were a cautious green. Sergeant Brixa's mandibles clicked in a pattern I had learned meant she was thinking hard about potential threats. The others spread out instinctively, maintaining distance from Marcus. Smart. They were learning. "Good morning, everyone," Marcus said cheerfully. "I see you have adopted more tactical spacing." "Excellent. That will help with today's exercise." "Probably. Maybe. We will see." "Human Ven," Commander Xyloth said formally. "Before we begin, I must ask, how many of these devices does your military possess?" "The gravity bands. Classified, but enough that any commander planning operations against human forces needs to assume they will encounter them." "Why?" Xyloth's scales rippled. "Strategic assessment. If we are to fight alongside humans, we need to understand battlefield dynamics. If multiple humans activate these devices simultaneously. Chaos," Marcus finished. "Beautiful, terrible chaos. But that is a problem for another day. Today we focus on something different. Yesterday you learned about force multiplication through gravity manipulation. Today you learn about kinetic redirection." He gestured to the training dummies. "These will simulate incoming attacks. Projectiles, melee strikes, that sort of thing. Standard combat scenarios. Your job is to defend against them. My job is to call you how humans deal with overwhelming force." Brixa clicked skeptically. "We have defensive training. Shields, armor, evasion techniques." "Sure, and those work great until you face something too fast, too strong, or too numerous to block. Then what?" "Silence." "Exactly," Marcus said. "Most species try to absorb the impact or avoid it entirely. Humans looked at that problem and asked a different question. What if we used the enemy's force against them?" One of the Graken warriors, the one who had bounced yesterday, stepped forward. His name was Krell, and he had been unusually quiet during morning briefings. "Elaborate." "Human." Marcus held up his right hand. Strapped to his forearm was another device, different from the gravity band. This one looked like a bracer, matte black, with silver lines running along its surface in geometric patterns. "This is a kinetic redistribution gauntlet. We call it a reflex guard. It does something very simple and very complicated at the same time. It detects incoming kinetic energy, absorbs it through specialized materials, and redirects it back along the vector of origin, with interest." "That sounds like physics violation," Corporal Ven the Helechian said, his gaseous forms swirling with confused colors. "It is very advanced physics, not violation. The gauntlet uses something humans discovered in our early space exploration days, molecular lattice structures that can store kinetic energy temporarily, like a spring but on a molecular level. When something hits the gauntlet, the energy gets absorbed, multiplied through resonance amplification, and released back at the source." Marcus walked over to one of the training dummies. "Watch." He activated the dummy. It swung a training baton at him, moving at what my instruments calculated as 60 kilometers per hour. Fast enough to hurt. Marcus raised his forearm almost casually, letting the baton strike the reflex guard. The sound was strange. Not the thud of impact, but something higher pitched. Almost musical. The baton hit the gauntlet and stopped dead for a microsecond. Then it reversed direction so fast my eyes could barely track it. The dummy's own weapon slammed back into it with roughly triple the original force, shattering the training baton and sending the dummy spinning across the arena floor. "Holy ancestors," Brixa whispered. "The harder they hit, the harder they get hit back," Marcus explained. "It is perfect for dealing with stronger opponents. That Kravor warrior who thinks they can crush you with their superior strength. Let them try. Their own force becomes their downfall. That siege weapon firing at your position, deflect it. Send that energy right back at the gun emplacement. It is not about being stronger, it is about being smarter. Commander Xyloth's scales flashed through several colors rapidly. Demonstrate again, slower this time. Marcus obliged, activating another dummy. This one punched instead of swinging. Same result. The punch connected with the gauntlet. There was that musical tone and the dummy went flying backward. The gauntlet has limits. Obviously, Marcus continued. It can handle most small arms fire, melee attacks, even some explosive force, but sustained bombardment or truly massive impacts will overwhelm it. Also, it only works on the arm wearing it. If someone shoots you in the leg, you still get shot in the leg. Humans are tough, but we are not invincible. We just have really good tools. And every human soldier has these. Krell asked. Not every soldier. Combat specialists. Frontline units. The gauntlets are expensive and require training to use effectively. You need good reflexes and better timing. Lock too early or too late, and you just absorb the impact normally. Lock correctly and you send your attacker flying. Rixa was staring at the gauntlet with what I recognized as professional appreciation. This changes close combat entirely. If we cannot strike you without being struck ourselves. You adapt, Marcus interrupted. You use tactics that do not rely on direct force. Grappling, joint locks, attacks from angles the gauntlet cannot cover, coordinated strikes that overwhelm the user's ability to respond. There are counters to everything. Humans just make you work harder to find them. Show us, Commander Xyloth said. It was not a request. Marcus grinned. Was hoping you would say that, Commander, you are with me. Everyone else. Observation mode. Xyloth. Your job is simple. Try to hit me. Any method you want. I will not use the gravity band, just the reflex guard. Let us see how you adapt. The two combatants moved to the center of the arena. Xyloth was massive compared to Marcus, easily twice the human's mass, with 6 arms and natural armor plating. It should have been no contest. Should have been. Xyloth opened with a straightforward punch, testing Marcus's defenses. Marcus blocked with the gauntlet. That musical tone rang out, and Xyloth stumbled backward, his own force rebounding. But the commander adapted quickly, coming in with a low sweep using his tail. Marcus had to jump over it, leaving him momentarily vulnerable. Xyloth pressed the advantage with 2 more arms, trying to grab while Marcus was airborne. Marcus twisted mid-air, landed and blocked 2 of Xyloth's strikes with the gauntlet. Both rebound, throwing the commander off balance. But Xyloth had 4 more arms, and he used them coming in high and low simultaneously. The exchange became a blur of motion. Strike, block, rebound. Xyloth would attack with multiple limbs, forcing Marcus to choose which to deflect. The ones he deflected came back at Xyloth with amplified force. The ones he dodged instead left him moving, repositioning, always staying just ahead of the Crover's reach. It was like watching a dance where both partners were trying to kill each other. Beautifully violent. After 2 minutes of this, Marcus called a halt. Both combatants were breathing hard. Xyloth's scales were bright orange with exertion and frustration. Analysis, Marcus said between breaths. What worked? Multiple simultaneous attacks. Xyloth replied. You can only block 1 or 2 strikes at a time. More than that, and you must dodge or retreat. Correct. The gauntlet is powerful but limited. 1 arm, 1 defensive tool. Against multiple attackers or rapid combination strikes, the user gets overwhelmed. What else? Grappling, Rixa called from the sidelines. You deflected strikes, but when the commander tried to grab you, the gauntlet seemed less effective. Also correct. The gauntlet works on impacts, kinetic energy delivery. If someone grabs and holds, there is no kinetic energy to redirect. Wrestling, chokeholds, joint locks. All viable counters. This is why humans train extensively in close combat techniques that do not rely on striking. Marcus walked over to his equipment bag and pulled out what looked like a practice knife. Now let us add another variable. Krell, you are up. Try to hit me with this. The Kraken took the knife, testing its weight. You want me to stab you? Training blade. It will register hits but not cause actual damage. And yes, I want you to try. I will show you how humans deal with edged weapons. What followed was educational and terrifying in equal measure. Krell attacked with the training knife, moving with the speed and precision that made Graken feared across the galaxy. Marcus used the gauntlet to deflect strikes, the knife blade ringing off the armored surface, but more than that he demonstrated technique, reading body language, predicting attacks, using minimum motion to achieve maximum effect. Every time the knife came at him, Marcus either deflected it with the gauntlet or moved just enough to avoid it. And whenever possible, he demonstrated counter techniques, grabbing Krell's wrist, using leverage to redirect the Graken's momentum. At one point, Marcus actually used the kinetic reflection to slap the knife out of Krell's hand, the blade spinning away across the arena. Weapons change the equation, Marcus explained after the demonstration. A knife is just force concentrated at a point. The gauntlet handles it the same as a punch. But you have to be more careful. Miss a block and you get stabbed. Miss a dodge and you get stabbed. There is less margin for error. And if we used live weapons? Brixa asked. Real combat scenarios. Marcus's expression went serious. Then people die. That is what real combat means. All of this, the training, the demonstrations, it exists so that when real combat happens, you make the right decisions fast enough to survive. Yesterday I showed you how humans use gravity to control battlefields. Today I am showing you how we turn enemy strength into enemy weakness. Tomorrow, he shrugged, tomorrow we put it all together. Commander Xyloth stepped forward. Human Ven, I speak for the squad when I say this training is valuable. But I must ask, when do we learn to counter these techniques? If humans are such formidable opponents, how do we ensure we can fight effectively alongside them? Or should circumstances require it, against them? The arena went very quiet. It was the question everyone was thinking but no one wanted to voice. Marcus nodded slowly. Fair question. The answer is, we teach you everything. Every technique, every weakness, every counter, that is the whole point of this program. Humans joining the coalition means full integration. We share technology, tactics, vulnerability, because we are stronger together than separate. Could you use this knowledge against us someday? Theoretically. But humans decided the risk is worth it. We would rather have allies who understand us than enemies who fear us. He paused, making eye contact with each squad member. Besides, he added with a slight smile, you think the gravity band and reflex guard are our only tricks? Humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We know more ways to kill than any species in the coalition. If we wanted to keep secrets, the fact that we are here training with you, sharing our methods, that is us saying we trust you. We hope you trust us back. Something shifted in the arena. I felt it from my observation booth. The squad members looked at each other, and some unspoken agreement passed between them. We trust you, human, Commander Xyloth said formally. Teach us. Everything. The rest of the day was intensive. Marcus broke down every technique in detail. The squad practiced deflecting attacks with borrowed reflex guards. They learned timing, angles, energy transfer principles. Marcus was patient when they struggled and encouraging when they succeeded. But I noticed something else. As they trained, the squad began working together in new ways, combining their natural abilities with human techniques, a mantoid speed with kinetic redirection, a Graken's strength with tactical gravity manipulation, a Helixian's mobility with human unpredictability. They were becoming something new, not human, not entirely alien, something hybrid, something dangerous. My communicator chirped. Priority message from Station Command. I stepped out of the booth to take it, expecting another request for reports. What I got instead made my blood run cold. Observer Throk, this is Commander Station Control. We have a situation. Unauthorized vessel approaching the station. Registry is flagged as hostile. Pirate configuration. They are demanding access to our docking bays. When we refused, they threatened to disable our defenses and board us by force. What? How did they get past sector patrols? Unknown. They are using some kind of stealth technology. We did not detect them until they were practically on top of us. Estimated arrival time, 20 minutes. All security personnel are being mobilized. Also, Command wants to know if your human specialist can assist. We have heard stories. I looked back into the arena where Marcus was demonstrating a disarming technique to an attentive audience. Stories do not do him justice. I will ask. I returned to the booth and activated the emergency communication system that piped directly into the arena. Human vet. Marcus looked up instantly, all trace of humor gone from his face. Talk to me. Hostile vessel inbound. Pirates. They plan to board the station. Security is mobilizing, but they want to know if you and your squad can provide support. The transformation was instantaneous. Marcus went from instructor to soldier in a heartbeat. Squad. Full combat gear. This is not a drill. We have hostiles incoming and we are now active defenders. Move. The squad scattered, running for their equipment lockers. Marcus turned to me. Sir, I need tactical information. How many hostiles? What species? What weapons? I pulled up the scanner data. That vessel is a modified freighter. Heat signatures suggest 20 to 30 individuals, mixed species crew. Weapons scan shows energy rifles, ballistic weapons, possibly explosives. They are not subtle. Pirates never are, Marcus muttered. He was strapping on additional equipment. More weapons, more gadgets I could not identify. Where are they likely to breach? Docking Bay 7. It is the largest access point. They will cut through if we do not open for them. Good. Predictable. Xylith, Rixa. Once you are geared up, meet me at Docking Bay 7. Everyone else, defensive positions along approach corridors. If any hostiles get past us, I want them walking into a very bad day. Human, Commander Xylith said, his scales flickering combat red. What is the plan? Marcus smiled. It was not a nice smile. It was the smile of someone about to ruin someone else's day. Badly. The plan is we let them think they are winning. Let them breach. Let them enter the docking bay. And then we teach them why boarding a coalition military station is a terrible life choice. You want them to breach? Rixa clicked in disbelief. That gives them access to the station. That gives them access to a killing ground with one exit and a very angry welcoming committee. Trust me, this will work. 15 minutes later, I watched from a secure monitoring station as the pirate ship docked. Badly. They used cutting torches on the bay doors, which was both crude and effective. Alarms blared throughout the station. Emergency bulkheads sealed corridors, and in Docking Bay 7, Marcus and the squad waited. The pirates came through the breach like they owned the place. Mixed species, just as the scans indicated. Rough-looking individuals with weapons that had seen better days. Their leader, a Vulcan with cybernetic enhancements and an attitude, surveyed the bay and laughed. Empty, he announced, his translator rendering his voice with artificial bass. They evacuated. Cowards, spread out, find the command center. This station has supplies worth raiding. The pirates spread into the bay, weapons ready, confident in their numerical superiority. 30 of them against an apparently empty space. Then Marcus stepped out from behind a cargo container. Just him. Alone, standing in the middle of the bay like he was waiting for public transport. Hi there, he called out cheerfully. Welcome to Station Omega 7. I am afraid visiting hours are over. Also, you are all under arrest. Please drop your weapons and prepare for detention. It will be easier for everyone. The pirates stared. Then they laughed. Their leader aimed an energy rifle at Marcus. You are joking, human. 1 soldier against 30 of us. Drop your weapon and maybe we let you live. See, that is funny, Marcus replied, because I was about to say the same thing to you. Last chance. Surrender now. Otherwise this gets messy. The Vulthine fired. The energy bolt crossed the distance between them at the speed of light. Should have vaporized Marcus where he stood. Should have. Marcus raised his right arm, the reflex guard gleaming. The energy bolt hit the gauntlet, and for a microsecond, the entire bay lit up with reflected energy. Then the bolt reversed course, amplified and slammed back into the Vulthine leader at triple the original intensity. The pirate went flying backward, armor smoking, consciousness optional. The other pirates froze, stunned. Then they did what pirates always do when surprised. They panicked and opened fire. 30 weapons. 30 shooters, all firing at once at a single human target. Marcus activated the gravity band. 5 times standard gravity bloomed outward in a perfect sphere. Every pirate within range went down like gravity had personally offended them. Weapons fell from suddenly heavy hands, Knees buckled, curses turned into groans. The pirates outside the 5-meter radius kept shooting, but Marcus was moving now, using cargo containers for cover, making them chase him. Every time someone got close, the gravity field activated. Every time someone fired at him from range, he used the reflex guard to send the shot back at them. It was not a fight, it was a demonstration. A master class in how a single prepared soldier could utterly dominate an unprepared force. Then the squad joined in. Commander Zaloth emerged from concealment on the left, his own weapons firing with precision. Riksa came from the right, her mantoid speed turning her into a blur. The others appeared from tactical positions, creating crossfire that left the pirates with nowhere to run. The battle lasted 90 seconds. When it ended, 30 pirates lay groaning on the deck, weapons scattered, confidence shattered. Not one member of the squad had taken a hit. Marcus walked among the defeated pirates, checking for injuries, securing weapons. "Medical teams are coming," he announced. "You will be processed and held for coalition authorities. For what it is worth, you picked a really bad day to attack this station. We just happened to have anti-piracy training scheduled." The Vulcan leader, conscious but barely, looked up at Marcus with something like respect. "What are you?" "Human," Marcus replied simply. "And this?" He gestured to the squad. "This is what happens when humans train other species. We share, we teach, we integrate. And then when someone threatens what we built together, we remind them why that was a bad idea." Station security arrived to take the pirates into custody. Commander Zaloth approached Marcus, scales rippling through colors that indicated satisfaction and respect. "Human then," the commander said. "That was impressive." "That was training paying off," Marcus corrected. "You and your squad performed perfectly. Positioning, timing, fire discipline. I could not have done it without you. You disabled half of them before we even fired a shot. And you disabled the other half and prevented any from escaping. Teamwork. That is what the coalition is about. Not human superiority. Not alien deference. Partnership. Using every advantage, every ability, every piece of technology to protect what matters. From my monitoring station, I recorded everything. The breach, the battle, the aftermath. This footage would be shown in tactical academies for decades, possibly centuries. But more than that, I had witnessed something important. Humans were not joining the coalition to dominate it. They were joining to strengthen it by sharing their deadliest secrets, their most effective techniques. They were making every species more capable, more dangerous, more united. It was brilliant and terrifying in equal measure. Later, after the pirates were locked away and the docking bay secured, I found Marcus in the observation lounge, staring out at the stars. The gravity band was still on his wrist, the reflex guard still on his arm. Tools of war worn by someone who clearly preferred peace. "Quite a day," I said, settling into a seat beside him. "Could have been worse," Marcus replied. "Could have been a real military force instead of pirates. Then things would have gotten complicated. You make it look easy. It is not. It is training, technology, and luck. Mostly luck. If those pirates had been smarter, if they had researched the station first, if they had known we were here," he shrugged. "Different outcome maybe. But they did not know. And you won." "We won," Marcus corrected. "The squad, security, everyone. Humans do not win alone. We learned that lesson a long time ago on Earth. Survival is a team sport." I thought about that, about humans and their death world, about the technologies they developed, the tactics they created, the philosophies they lived by, all of it forged in an environment that should have killed them but instead made them stronger. "Your species is remarkable," I said finally. "Your species are remarkable too," Marcus replied. "All of them. You think humans invented teamwork, tactical thinking, using tools to overcome natural limitations. Every successful species does that. We just do it in ways that seem strange to you. Give it time. You will see humans are not that different. We just had a harder climb to get here. And now you share that climb with us. The techniques, the technology, the mindset. That is the idea. Make the whole coalition stronger. Because out there," he gestured to the vast darkness beyond the viewport, "there are worse things than pirates. There are species that do not want peace. Entities that do not negotiate. Threats that will test everything we have built. When that day comes, I want every coalition species armed with every advantage we can give them, including the weird human ones, the gravity band, the reflex guard. What else do humans have that you have not shown us yet? Marcus smiled. Lots. But we have time. The universe is dangerous, but it is also patient. We will get there, one training session at a time. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, threats were gathering. Challenges were forming. The future was uncertain. But in that moment, in that observation lounge on Station Omega 7, I felt something I had not felt in a long time. Hope. Not because humans were invincible, but because they were willing to share their strength, to lift others up instead of standing alone. The gravity band was not just a weapon, it was a symbol. Humans could crush everyone around them if they wanted. Instead, they chose to teach, to train, to integrate.
That choice, more than any technology, made them truly formidable.
Same time tomorrow? Marcus asked, standing and stretching. What are you teaching tomorrow? Neural dampening fields, tactical camouflage, and improvised explosive devices. Should be fun. Your definition of fun still concerns me. It should, Marcus agreed, grinning. But you will be there anyway. I will be there anyway, I confirmed. Because that was my job, observing, recording, learning, and occasionally ducking when humans decided to demonstrate something particularly explosive. Marcus headed for the exit, then paused. Hey Throck, thanks for the backup today. Calling in the situation, coordinating with security, monitoring the tactical situation. Good work. I felt something warm in my chest. Pride, maybe. Recognition from a human warrior. Just doing my job. Keep doing it. The coalition needs people like you, people who watch, who learn, who help us all understand each other better. That matters. He left, whistling that survival song again. I remained in the observation lounge, updating my reports, compiling footage, processing everything I had witnessed. One day into advanced training with a human specialist, and we had already defended the station from hostile forces. What would the rest of the week bring? Knowing humans, probably something explosive, possibly illegal, definitely memorable. I finished my reports and headed back to my quarters. Tomorrow would come early. Training would resume. Marcus would introduce new technologies, new tactics, new ways for species to work together. And I would watch, record, and try to explain to Coalition Command why humans were both the best and most terrifying thing that ever happened to us. The galaxy was changing. Humans were here, and they brought their gravity bands, their reflex guards, their death world philosophies, and their absolute refusal to fight fair. The future, I decided, was going to be very interesting, possibly very dangerous. Definitely not boring. And for a tactical observer who signed up for a quiet monitoring job, that was saying something.